In previous videos, I've noted how much I love Hermione. I'm not here to defend any of her mistakes or convince you she's perfect. If she was, she'd be a boring character, and I wouldn't be raving about her. Instead, I find her the most relatable character, as well as one of the more interesting and developed ones, and I want to explain why. Hermione has numerous qualities beyond her passion for books, though that in itself is a winning trait, and more than her share of flaws. For me, she's not only relatable, but realistic. Before we continue, I'm Riley, and this is Otherworldly Fiction. On this channel, I ramble about books, going over characters, sharing opinions, and explaining lore. I also offer writing advice. If any of that sounds like your cup of Felix Felicis, hit that subscribe button. Posts are on Fridays. There are multiple traits which go into making Hermione an engaging character. As a result of the good and the bad, she's someone we want to both cheer for and befriend. Reason number 1 on this list is that she's a bookworm. As a bookworm myself, I could be biased, but one of the reasons I found Hermione so relatable as a kid stems from her passion for books. It's less clear if Hermione reads any fiction, but as someone who loves learning and mixing nonfiction into my reading, I still relate to her. I love those moments when she's waddling beneath the weight of several volumes. Moreover, I smile when she dashes off to the library. If I had a problem, that's probably where I'd go too. However, it's not just my personal feelings that have to be taken into account. Hermione being a bookworm makes her a positive role model, because she demonstrates that reading can not only make you smarter and better informed, but that it can be enjoyable. In her knowledge of multiple subjects, and the ease with which she solves problems for the trio, Hermione demonstrates that reading and learning can be helpful in navigating the world. Books can improve your problem-solving skills, teach you new abilities, and educate you on everything from history to other people. The Harry Potter series already caused several children, including those who hated reading, to become bookworms. But Hermione, with her nose always caught between the pages, reinforced the idea of reading as something positive, reliable, and fun. Reason number 2 on this list is that she's resourceful. While everyone in the Golden Trio contributes, Hermione pulls the group out of more than a few scrapes. Quick thinking and thoughtful, she tackles those problems which might have eluded Harry or Ron. When the trio are faced with obstacles requiring careful planning, Hermione is there to help. First in concocting the plan to begin with, and then in polishing it. Their plans don't always work out, of course, but Hermione can think on her feet too. After dispatching the mountain troll in the washroom, Hermione took the fall. Likely sparing Harry and Ron from detentions, she convinced McGonagall she had gone looking for the troll on purpose, and that the boys had stumbled into rescuing her. Her lie worked, and Minerva, after docking Gryffindor House for 5 points, then awarded 5 points each to the boys. It would take a whole video to list all of the problems Hermione solved, but there are highlights. In the first book, she uses her cleverness to solve a riddle involving potions, so that Harry can drink the correct one and retrieve the Philosopher's Stone. In the second book, she deduces the monster plaguing the school as a basilisk. In the 5th, she suggests forming the DA. And in the 7th volume, her outside-the-box thinking helps her to discover that the Sword of Gryffindor, having formerly been coated in basilisk blood, can be used to destroy Horcruxes. Reason number 3 on this list is that she's responsible. The boys procrastinating on their homework might be more relatable when it comes to school, but Hermione underscores their attitudes with an attention to detail and a diligence for due dates. Not everyone can be a perfect student, but Hermione demonstrates that putting effort into your work can pay off. First, if you do your homework, you're going to come away a little smarter than you were before. Second, by being so knowledgeable, you'll be able to solve more problems. And third, you'll be recognized for your efforts, receiving not only positions of responsibility, but high grades. The Golden Trio might have died in the first book, on the first obstacle to the stone, if Hermione didn't pay attention in class. As a result of her attentiveness and herbology, Hermione was able to remember the correct spell for repelling the devil's snare, though readers of the book will recall that Ron was also integral in this instance, showing the importance of working together. High grades also helped the brightest witch of the age, enabling her to become a prefect and distinguish herself in her owls and newts. On leaving Hogwarts, she also went further in her career than Harry or Ron. Becoming Minister for Magic, she excelled as much as anyone could. Number 4 on this list is that she's empathetic. While her empathy is something she develops in later books, it's worth mentioning. In hearing how she navigates relationships or understands others, she becomes someone we wish we could hang out with. She never becomes popular or all-knowing, but her ability to offer dating advice or unravel the mystery of the female mind sets her apart from the boys. While she can come across as tomboyish, Hermione has a feminine side, and it's important to show she's not just another boy with a girl's looks. She can offer something Harry and Ron can't, and that's an understanding of girls themselves. She first sympathizes with Ginny. During her 4th year, she offers Ginny advice while they're bunking together at the Quidditch World Cup. Seeing how shy Ginny is around Harry, Hermione encourages Ginny to date others and talk with Harry like he's just another friend. As a result of Hermione's advice, Ginny is able to come out of her shell. She earns experience in the realms of dating, though to the annoyance of her brother, and she's able to form a solid friendship with Harry before romantic feelings come into the mix. Furthermore, Hermione also helps Harry when he's struggling to understand Cho. It's not an easy concept for the boys to grasp, but Hermione explains that Cho is conflicted. She wants to do the right thing in joining the DA, but not at the expense of her mother's job, and she likes Harry, but is still grieving Cedric. With Hermione's explanation, Harry is better able to understand why his girlfriend is so emotional. Hermione's empathy doesn't just extend to understanding girls, though. She also sympathizes with others and bristles when they're faced with injustice. Though her actions during the Spew arc might have been clumsy, they were well-intentioned. Having seen Dobby suffer, Hermione wanted to protect others from the same abuses. She also defended the likes of the goblins, criticizing Ron when he suggested they double-cross Griphook so that they could keep the sword. Reason number 5 on this list is that Hermione represents the other. This point is especially important in a children's book because it shows kids something of the unfairness of the world, as well as how to overcome such prejudice. As a Muggle-born, Hermione is a stand-in for any person belonging to a marginalized group, and facing such slurs as mudblood and being bullied by bigots like Malfoy, she shows kids how to defend themselves and remain strong, even when judged by something they can't help. Such issues as bigotry, prejudice, and derogatory terms are explored in a way that's safe, showing the damage such attitudes can cause, as well as the absurdity of them, and showing that Hermione is a brilliant witch, despite her background. The idea that anyone can be successful, differences included, is encouraged. Children reading the series also come away with an understanding of what prejudice is and how harmful it can be. Hermione's background allows her to support the book's themes of celebrating differences and rooting for the underdog, while also using the fantasy as a metaphor for real-world problems. However society might view her, Hermione still comes away with high grades, love for her friends, and a fantastic career. Her being a Muggle-born doesn't prevent her from becoming Minister for Magic. In other words, no matter how different or misunderstood you are, you can do anything. It's your abilities and your efforts which determine your success, rather than what you are. Number 6 on this list is that she's flawed. This might seem like an unusual reason to include on the list, but this video argues why Hermione is a great character, not why she's a perfect person. To be clear, Hermione is a good person, But she's not perfect, because nobody is. By giving her flaws, Hermione instead becomes human. She feels like an actual person, and her flaws are ones many could relate to. By being flawed, she shows that you're not only going to make mistakes, but that it's okay to make them. Hermione has several flaws. The first and most obvious is her bossiness, which we encounter in the first book. While this flaw abates throughout the series, it never completely goes away, though towards the later books, it becomes something of a positive, because her bossiness transforms into a natural inclination to lead. In other words, by bossing others around as a kid, she showed she liked leading others, making her later position as Minister for Magic understandable. Other flaws include a self-righteous attitude, boastfulness, stubbornness, and jealousy. When discussing the merits of completing your homework or studying, she can come across as condescending. Others are offended by her superior airs when she berates them for handing in their homework late or not memorizing goblin rebellions, though this trait too becomes positive later when she demonstrates the benefits of being responsible. As for her stubbornness, it comes out when Hermione is beginning her spew campaign. It's the first time in the series Hermione comes across as ignorant. It's not that she doesn't care about the house elves, she's passionate about their welfare, but she fails to understand them first. While her intentions are good, she goes about her campaign in the wrong way. Instead of talking to the house elves and asking them how they feel or what they want, she barrels in with her own views. Even Ron handles the situation better, urging Hermione to actually listen to those she's trying to support. Then there's her jealousy, though Ron is equally guilty of this one. While Ron's jealousy flares up more often, we can at least give him credit for not pelting Hermione with canaries when she went out with Crumb. I'm not defending Hermione's actions. If you're upset that someone you like is going out with another person, you don't send projectile birds at them. However, Hermione's jealousy was something I could relate to as a teenager. Teenagers have intense emotions, and Ron, in his ignorance, could be frustrated. The fact he worried about Hermione's dating life, but then carried on with his own, would be hurtful. Having given hints that he liked Hermione, I couldn't blame her for suffering whiplash when he then pursued somebody else. In her instances of jealousy, Hermione, usually studious and organized, shows she's as emotional as anyone else. She becomes a real teenager. She's the one I empathized with when I saw my own crush making out with another girl. Overcome by a whirlwind of emotions, I was better able to understand what I was going through by considering Hermione's feelings in the 6th book. My 7th grader self also felt a little cheered, because I had somebody who knew how I felt, and who showed me such feelings, including jealousy, were natural. In conclusion, Hermione is a compelling character, not only for her positive traits, which include resourcefulness and empathy, but for her flaws as well. In both the good and the bad, she feels like a real person, giving us a believable hero to root for, as well as a friend we can relate to. Being seen as a secondary protagonist by many, because of how much she drives the story and how much she accomplishes, the fandom's passion for the character is demonstrated in the endless drawings, comics, and fan fictions dedicated to her name. That so many have taken the character from themselves, telling new stories with her voice and interpreting her in their own way, is a testament to how intriguing she was to begin with. For these reasons and so many more, she was and remains one of my favorite characters, not only in the Potter universe, but of all time. Who is your favorite character in the Wizarding world? Are there other traits which drew you to Hermione, or were there things you didn't like about her character? Sound off in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and happy reading!